What's going on, guys? Here for another episode of Three Wise Men. Got Andy, myself, Brian, Turbo, and Billy again here from My Medic. He's going to show us how to pack a wound that your tourniquet will not basically stop the blood flow to. Other than that, I have no idea what I'm talking about, so I'm going to let Billy take the way.
They call me Turbo because I'm a speed demon.
I'm Brian Goldstein. I went from special ed student to 8-figure CEO.
I'm Andy Kelly Fresh. I'm a double agent, and together we are the Three Wise Men.
Right on. Not for long, dude. We'll get you super spun up on how to treat an arterial bleed that is not in a spot where you can put a tourniquet on. So think kind of armpit area, think groin area, something to where you can try and put a tourniquet on, but it's not going to cover. It's not going to cut off the blood flow. What we have here is I've got a little training aid I'm going to have you guys use, and then we'll get something a little more real life-ish. So starting off, when you pack a wound, you're gonna wanna use like some kind of hemostatic dressing. Like Quickclot is my go-to. Step number one is you're gonna wanna start with something like that. Now, if that doesn't fill that whole void, then you can go, it's no problem, just use regular gauze on top of that, because what matters here, that's got the hemostatic agent, that's got the little blood clotting stuff in here. So that needs to make contact with the bleeder, and then you can just pack on top of that. I'm gonna kind of talk you guys through this, and then I'll have you do it, and then we'll all of us will go over and do the other training aid. This is the hole. This is where all the blood's coming from, right? It's an arterial bleed. It's bleeding like crazy. I need to make sure this stops to save this life. What you're trying to do is get eyes on and identify the bleeder, like where is that blood coming from? Because that's where you're gonna put the pressure initially, right? So again, we're gonna start out with your Quickclot hemostatic dressing. Now, they come in like Z-folds, they'll come rolled up like this. They all function the same, but what matters, first of all, is you see how I'm just kind of balling up the end of it. This knot of material goes right on that bleeder, right? You take that big power ball there, and that goes right over the wound. So once you're in here, guys, the name of the game is constant pressure, right? So I've got my finger on the wound, I'm running my Quickclot in, and however you want to do it, 2 fingers, 1 finger, thumb finger, it's got to be a 1-for-1 swap, meaning inside that wound, I'm kind of going like this and packing that stuff and packing it and just stacking that gauze on itself, but I'm never letting pressure up. It's not like pack it in, grab some more, pack it in. It's constant pressure. Now, a lot of times, I've seen it countless times, heck, I've done it, is you want to keep a hold of your tail. Like if you drop this, it's going through sand or dirt or oil or whatever, and it's just better to keep it clean. Now, if you drop it, is it the end of the world? No, that patient's probably going to be on antibiotics down the road and stuff like that. But too often the tail gets dropped and it's just kind of gross. So if you can hold the tail, right, one hand, and then again, 1-for-1 swap, taking that combat gauze and just packing it, stacking it on itself with constant pressure on that little red dot on that little bleeder. So a lot of people are like, oh man, that's pretty invasive or that's gnarly. Yeah, dude, you're 3 knuckles deep in somebody's leg or arm or whatever. Like, yeah, they're probably not gonna be super stoked on it. It might be a little weird for you, but keep in mind, just like how tourniquets hurt, look, dude, this has to happen. You guys need to make it happen. The patient needs to understand this has to happen. So you get in there and like any treatment, like be aggressive, make it happen, don't mess around. So I'm packing this, and the key to, no matter how big this is, you have to fill that void, right? You have to have that pressure of that full void to keep constant pressure on the vessel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you still have 2 knuckles.
So yeah, I've got a ways to go. What do? That's when you pull out, you can pull out another Quickclot, but if you've got regular gauze, just go for this, because that's the stuff that hits the bleeder. This is just packing the pressure on top. So when we put all the extra stuff in your Baja kit, and you and I kind of talked about it, yeah, you need a ton of gauze, man. Gauze is your best friend. Keeping constant pressure, right? And this is key. You can hold with 1 finger and tear this open if it is a roll gauze, because this stuff's pretty common. Pop it. I need to fill this wound. Basically, I'm gonna keep going. And while we're here, I'll just show you a quick tip, because again, this stuff is so common. And when you're packing a wound, you can definitely unroll it and pack it. That's totally fine, that totally works. But a little trick is to pull out from the inside, right? So now you're pulling from the inside, and you can see it just kind of comes out a little bit easier. You're not like trying to unroll it and stuff like that. So you pull it from the inside out and you continue to pack. You pack until the void's totally full and you're about 2 centimeters over the surface of the skin. The reason for that is the next step is putting pressure dressing or like an ACE wrap over this, because again, just because you pack the wound, you're not done. You have to keep the pressure on there. So with this big mound right there, it's gonna keep the pressure on that pinpoint, right? It won't be surface level. So depending on the situation, if he's got another wound, maybe I can cut this off, smash it on top of everything else,
And then
hold, right? So the magic numbers are 3 minutes for Quickclot and 5 minutes if you're not using Quickclot and it's just regular gauze. Those are the magic numbers. What I say is hold the pressure. If you can get a ACE wrap on there and you're still holding pressure, that's gonna be key. In an emergent situation, if we're treating somebody, like if you're in the field and you still have stuff going on, you're probably not gonna be like, all right, it's been 2 minutes. All right, going on 2:30. Get the pressure dressing on there and go about your business, right? Questions on actual packing the wound.
There's no such thing as too much, right?
No, there's no such thing because, again, you have to make sure that whole area, that ballistic wound, is totally full of gauze.
When you pack it, what happens to the blood that's in there? Is it just getting absorbed by the Quickclot, or is it being just stopped directly when you identify the bleeder?
No, so you put your finger on the bleeder. So with that, you've stopped the blood flow coming out of the artery, right? Then by putting the Quickclot over that and just packing it, that it's still pinched off. You're basically pinching off the end of that vessel. That's why it's so important to identify the bleeder. Just filling this hole isn't necessarily gonna do anything. You have to have direct pressure over that bleed. It's kind of like how a tourniquet works. You're just pinching off that vessel. You know what I mean? I'm gonna set up a couple of things and have you guys pack the wound on a different training aid. All right? So, all right guys, who's hungry?
oh boy. I mean,
Oh yeah, man, we're good. I mean, we're gonna train a little bit and then we'll grill this thing up so you can.
So
you can just hold out,
we will feed Brian is what you're getting.
Absolutely.
Okay, then, we're good.
Like, this is dinner, bro.
Food's food, man.
Right now, let's focus on, hey, this is an arterial bleed. I can't put a tourniquet on it, and I know I have to pack the wound. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna have you glove up, Turbo. When you're doing this, I'm gonna ask you to kind of talk us through it. Like, hey man, I'm identifying the bleed. This is what I'm doing, 1-for-1 swap. However, I want you to kind of tell us, hey, how this works. So what we're gonna do here, we've got practice combat gauze, which is the exact same thing as the Quickclot. We've got the regular gauze if you need it. If not, then if that fills the wound, then it fills the wound. If that fills the void, it fills the void. So you've come across your patient, you've identified, I cannot put a tourniquet on this, but by God, that's an arterial bleed. He's bleeding everywhere. So, you ready to fix it?
Get her done.
All right, fix it. A lot of blood. That's a femoral artery right there. That thing is gonna bleed out in a matter of seconds. So, talk us through, what are we doing right here?
So I'm trying to pack it while maintaining pressure where I felt and saw. I did see it for a split second.
So you identified it.
I did identify where the blood was coming from, that was coming this way. So I'm trying to pack it as best I can.
Whatever your technique is, just make sure you don't let up pressure, right?
I'm above the skin level.
Okay.
It's quite firm. I think I've achieved enough packing.
Not good
Very
enough.
firm. No.
You gotta know it, dude.
Still no?
No, you have to know it.
Okay.
I can't tell from
Yeah,
here.
it feels.
But you can't be like, I should
Yeah.
be good. You have to be like, no, I got this.
No, it feels rock solid to me.
Okay.
so can you just take the rest of the hemostat and put it on top now?
Absolutely. So you've got your little mound. You've packed that thing. Like you said, it's super firm. You know that thing's packed full of gauze. Take whatever's left, smash it on top, and then this is where you do your pressure dressing over that. So holding for how long?
We're holding for at least 3 minutes.
So when you're doing this, and you're holding, and you're like, I'm pretty sure I got it, like it's full. One thing is, dude, no peeking. It's not one of those like, did I get it? And, dude, it's over, you gotta start all over, right? So no peeking. The way you're gonna tell is if you hold this and you have this big mound of gauze under here, if that starts to become red, you know, then even if it goes through like the pressure dressing, you're like, I need to go revisit that thing.
When are you using a chest seal? Let's say this is a gunshot wound to the chest.
So if this is to the chest, you're gonna do a chest seal completely over this whole wound, and you're not gonna poke anything or pack anything in the torso. You're talking like up here, just somewhere where you cannot get a tourniquet on, like groin, something like that. You're in here like that. You're not gonna be packing that. You're good to go, man. That's pretty much it, dude. So we'll go down and I'll give you guys each a chance to do this and stop that bleed, and so you guys can get your fingers in that tactile feel of like, dude, I'm 3 knuckles deep in some dude right now. You know what I mean? It's important to feel these things in training because it's so much different than like a plastic or foam aid or something like that. 100%. You can feel that bone, you can feel that muscle, you can feel that skin. So that's why we do this. All right, dude, you ready?
Yep.
All right, so since you're so spun up and an expert now, make this bleed stop, right? I don't know what to tell you, buddy.
Oh, she's a leaker.
Better make it stop. I mean, you might have 30 seconds. How long has this guy been bleeding already? How long, if this is you? I mean, has it been 3 minutes? Has it been 4?
Ryan, I feel lightheaded, dude. You're not hitting it hard enough.
So kind of talk me through what you're doing. Like step number 1 was...
Step number 1 is I stopped it with my finger, and then I just started packing. I balled it up and started pushing it in.
All right. So you've now held for how long?
45 seconds.
Okay. How long should we hold it for?
3 minutes.
Perfect. So it's been 3 minutes. What's the next step?
Compress, wrap it.
Yep. So you just do that
Case
compression.
bandage, something,
Yep,
duct
exactly.
tape, whatever you can get your hands on.
Absolutely. Perfect. And now that you're 90% an expert, let's get you to 100% by actually having you do it on this piece of tissue here. All right? You ready?
Yeah.
All right, man. That's bad. That's...
So at this point, I feel comfortable that it's packed. I'm gonna hold it for 3 minutes.
Yep.
But knowing real life scenario, my buddy's gonna be probably moving around, kicking and screaming. So I'd probably want someone else holding him down too.
Here's what I always tell people. Always ask for help. You might get it, you might not. Ask for the world, man. Maybe you'll get the stars, right? Or however that goes. Ask for the sun, get the stars.
Knock him out.
Doesn't matter.
You gotta do.
That's it, guys. That's wound packing 101.
All right, guys, till next time. We'll have that airway episode coming out soon. Like, subscribe, comment below, and thank you again, Billy, from My Medic, for being here today.
Yeah, man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Boom.